All right, we should be live. Hello, everybody. It's me again, Radrey, with it's the new year, the new me, or new P. I don't know. We've been watching too much Eric Andre. There's an Eric Andre episode where he says season 3, new year, new P. Anyway, enough with being 5 years old. I'll get on with the show. The show. How is everybody today? Is everyone good? It's a nice sunny day here in Tokyo. A little cold, but it's winter. The problem with winter in Japan is that you can't really escape it because there is no insulation unless you live in places like Akita or Hokkaido, where it's a bit easier to, insulate yourself and stay warm. So, relatively, I hate Japanese winters with like a flaming passion. I really do. They're really just awful. Let's shout out some people in the chat. Hi, Simon Nochanama. Hi, Yuno. How are you today? So, what we all came here for, y'all, it's just me. There's nobody else here. Not sure why I'm speaking in third person. So, 2019, the new me, and what's that look like? Well, I've made a list of what everything is going to be for this new channel because I want to make new plans, new priorities, new things. You know, what people should expect to see for this YouTube thing that I make here. So I've made a few things. Goal number 1. I made a whole list here. You can see in this book. Goal number 1. One vlog every week. I'm going to try to vlog every single week. Because, personally, I've said this hundreds of times that I don't really like vlogging. I don't like making video blogs because I find it kind of, there's not much rewards in it. I saw this tweet the other day that said, if you're making something, and let's pretend that, like, I don't know, likes and follows or retweets or subscribers, if you could not see any of that, if that didn't exist, would you still be making content on the internet? And I really had to think about that, because sometimes a lot of the time you judge, whether something is good based upon the numbers of that said video or episode of whatever it is you're making. And sometimes it really affects your dopamine. You get a big dopamine kick if I just saw like 10,000 views on one video and just all positive likes or something, right? So I was thinking about that. I thought really hard about that. And, and it's true. I mean, I really do enjoy making this podcast. Let me put it this way. It's kind of more of a personal journey for me because I get to meet new people and discuss things that I want to talk about, and I can record it in the process. But it's just sort of like, what is this that you're watching, or what other people are watching? You're just watching a conversation between two dudes talking through screens, or maybe two dudes and a chick, or a chick and a dude or whatever. So the big problem here is that, it's not accessible for everyone. I'm not going to always have guests that everybody's going to want to see. It's not like I can be funny. I can be deep. I can be philosophic. I can be lots of things. But, I guess the big thing is that, having big name guests, and I don't always want to have big name guests. I always like the little people. I always feel like there's not enough time dedicated to littler channels. Like, everybody wants to watch the big people, and I mean, I'm kind of guilty of this myself. I don't really watch any smaller YouTubers, mostly because I don't know. I mean, think about independent movies or independent music or whatever. Why is it that we don't really watch or listen to something that's too new? Mostly because like young writers, like let's say big name writers like Kurt Vonnegut or something, a lot of them are only really famous because of the classic literature they've written, right? And a lot of the times we don't read any of their earlier books or see, like, let's say Tarantino's first movie, which doesn't even exist really. A lot of that is like, we don't, a lot of it's not very good. It's quite awful. And so sometimes having to sit through and having to listen or read about any of the older stuff that people have done, it's just like, man, you probably can't really put into context of like how bad it was, so therefore, like, when you watch newer channels or newer people, it's very hard to like kind of relate to them, like, that's kind of amateur, it's kind of shitty, but at the same time I like shitty movies. So I mean, like, I like stuff like, well, then again, I've never actually made it through Tommy Wiseau's The Room. I can never make it through that show or movie. But anyway, basically, yeah, so that's kind of the idea, is that, you want to have to grow a smaller channel. And this is a very small channel. Nobody really, I'm not, because I was checking, like, you check the numbers on everything, and, and it's not big numbers. It's not crazy numbers. Like, you go over to, like, PewDiePie versus the T-Series live stream that's, like, constantly going, because, YouTuber, I guess I should set this up. I'm sure by this point, if you're watching YouTube, you don't know who PewDiePie is, or the whole battle between T-Series. What are you doing here? What are you doing in your life? Well, it's not that fucking important, actually, because I still meet people every now and then that, that tell me, well, who's PewDiePie? What's that? What's this all about? So, I mean, the live stream, there's a constant live stream comparing the numbers between PewDiePie and T-Series. And just like looking at those numbers, it's just like, man, like, I think about how hard it is to like make the numbers that, for yourself. Like, PewDiePie can make 1,000 followers in like in minutes, whereas I kind of struggle to like put something together, just in basic. Because I mean, like, you have, it's an interesting battle. Let me put it this way: PewDiePie versus T-Series, because PewDiePie is kind of more of a personality channel versus the MCN, the multiple channel network, that basically is music videos, the people, the money, the big name people. I mean, maybe you could say PewDiePie is an entity, maybe he has like a whole team and everything, but still, it has more personality to it. And it's nice to see that the personality channel actually, is still prominent, and people still like seeing the personality channel. So, I mean, I feel like I should put myself out there more with more video blogs, stuff that I hate, but, you got to whore yourself out every now and then, because you have to appeal to the masses. So therefore, one new vlog every week. I'm going to really try to kick myself to make it, because that's what people want to see. They want to see life outside of this room, outside of these two walls. I don't know. I mean, I wish I had a more interesting backdrop. I wish I could do it behind this this bookshelf. But the problem is I can't see the screen and I can't read the comments if I'm doing it behind there. And so the setup kind of sucks. But whatever. You do what you got to do. So, yeah, vlog every week. And let's move on to the next goal. 2019, next goal. Oh, boy. Well, I mean, there is that. Okay, so, I mean, these are the goals every year. I've been using this goal for the past 10 fucking years, which is pretty awful. But it's always a goal that's always on my list every year. I want to finish my first 2 short films. The problem with those, and I talk about this all the time, is just that they're not movies. They're just not. I mean, or some of them are. I mean, like, Daikonoshi's finished, but I'm so unhappy with it. And, it's just like, it has to exist, and I have to like let it go. And it's just sort of like, I want it to be finished so I don't have to think about it anymore. So eventually, hopefully I will try to find time to work on it every weekend. I always think it's good to have goals. You got to have goals. You got to make big goals for yourself, and then you got to make smaller goals, to work up to that quote unquote said goal. So yeah, that's definitely on the roster. I mean, I'm on winter break right now, and I haven't really even touched these films, which I probably should, and maybe like make some nice posters for them, some nice artwork, and hopefully get those out at some point. Next one is Rad Culture video every week. I've been doing this series that pretty much doesn't exist. Is that it's basically thought pieces or video essays, kind of like what I want to do is sort of like the Bill Wirtz kind of style, where he does like a period history of the world. Can't enunciate history of the world or his history of Japan, kind of these kind of cute little things. And I'm not sure if anybody who's watched the H3 podcast interview with him. He talks about how he did Vine for a while, and then he made these short little clips, and he worked on something every day that eventually made it into what is it, the bigger piece, the history of Japan. And I would like to make something like, because I get a lot of feedback. I get some feedback, and like some of these more heavily thought pieces, something that's a bit more, I want to say poignant. I'm kind of at a lack of words here with this, but something that kind of like, resonates with people, because I still have people who come up to me and tell me like, yeah, I like that Setsubun video. Yeah, and I like it too. And that's the feeling I want with all these videos. I don't want to have this video like, oh God, why did I post that? Oh Jesus. Like, man, why do I do this? And I don't want to question myself or second question myself. What I do need to do is just kick myself until I'm always working on something. And that I don't have no excuse, for making something that I'm not happy with. Because some people may argue that, or at least my philosophy is that life is about happiness. It's not about, maybe some other people feel like it isn't about happiness. Call it very hedonistic. But, it's sort of like, I'm reading the chat right now. It says, can we have a prehistory of Japan, please? I don't think you could do a prehistory of Japan after seeing that one by Bill Wirtz there. Great video. Can't pimp that one out enough. Even though I have no connection with it whatsoever. And hashtag not sponsored. But am I going to interview Jake Edelstein of Tokyo Vice? I could, but I'm not sure if I do have a connection with him, kind of like connections. It might be a hard one to really set up because I'm sure he's pretty busy, but who knows? I mean, I think he did a 2.5 Oyajis episode. Maybe at some point I could probably work him in. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm getting better at this asking people to be on your show kind of thing. Please do an interview with the Church of Gay Mark when Mark comes out of Japanese jail. Yeah, for some context, there's this one friend of Tokyo Sam who, what is it? He was framed, I guess, and somebody sent like drugs to his house, and he was put in Japanese prison, which really sucks. I mean, especially I'm not sure how things work here in Japan, but I'm sure once you go to prison, that's it. You're done. I'm not sure if Mark's got a great voice. I mean, but I would like to interview. It would be interesting interviewing him because he likes art and he's worked on films like I have. But anyway, back to the point. Happiness. Not the film by Todd Solondz, mind you. I know they're mentioning this in the chat. You do things because you want things to make you happy. You do things because you want to be. You get some sort of pleasure out of it, right? Not sexual pleasure. I mean, maybe you get sexual pleasure. I can be crass about it. But, in general, it's just that, like, for example, why do we eat so much? Why do I eat so much? Why do we overeat and get fat and sing the blues? It's just indulgence, right? And it only goes so far. Like, you can only blame yourself for so long. For not doing what it is you want to do. So, I mean, the only real philosophy you can follow is just that, just keep kicking yourself or having reminders to kick yourself. I wish this is where like time machines come in handy, but whatever. There is no Doraemon. All right. So Rad Culture video every month. I really get a lot of pleasure out of those. I'm hopefully trying to do some on yokai, some on pop culture. Try to do some more in Japan because people seem to like the whole Japan angle. I probably here's an interesting thing. So, I've done this podcast, Why Come Japan, for a while, and the thing of it I've learned is actually particularly talking to everyone is all the people who are the best creators are the ones who are constantly creating and doing less consuming. Whereas I think it's important to consume because you kind of have to understand what it is people are watching or what you feel like, what you enjoy about something. Because sometimes people kind of get lost about what it is they want to do for a YouTube video. Like they're not really sure what it is they want for themselves. Like they say, oh, I'll follow Abroad in Japan, or I'll follow Rachel and June, or any of these big name people. And it is very helpful to follow big name people, because when you follow big name people, you get an idea of what audiences generally want in the zeitgeist of life. Because everybody wants sort of the same thing. Well, not always the same thing. It's like back to like brand recognition. Everybody recognizes brands. It's sort of like, for example, one of the previous guests on the show, Chris Carlier, who he does this little comic strip called littleInJapan.com. Go check it out if you haven't seen it already, or go listen to that episode. He also has a very popular Twitter handle called Mondo Mascots, where he goes around and he takes pictures of mascots in Japan. So he's anyway, but the point I'm trying to make is when I went to his comic book convention. There was, many people who had their comics on display, and it seemed like the most popular one there was Bart Kira, was a what is a collaboration, or what's it, a pastiche? What do you call that? Not an homage, because an homage is like when you do something in the style of it, or maybe it's an homage. I think it's a pastiche. Pastiche is more like you using a piece of it. So, yeah, so it's a pastiche of both The Simpsons and Akira. Everybody was going to it, right? That's what everybody wants to go to. They want to go to see something that they recognize. They recognize Akira and they recognize The Simpsons. The perfect combination. So, therefore, having to take like popular brands or popular types of videos does really help, and helps get your name out there. Because I'm not really doing this quote unquote for fame, or some people always kind of have this idea that you do things based upon like numbers or whatever. And I mean, yeah, sure, I love the numbers like everybody else does. Like the Instagram followers or the Instagram likes or whatever. And it kind of gets to this point where you kind of start out and you do something and you don't really have an idea of what it is at the beginning. You just kind of did it. So kind of like the same reason why, this question of this podcast, why come Japan? Why do people hate that question? Number one is because, nobody, because maybe sometimes you don't know why exactly you came to Japan. It just seemed like a good idea at the time. And, there's just like, let's just say you really like Dragon Ball Z and you just hopped on a plane, heading over, I didn't give it that much thought. And then maybe you think like, why did I stay in Japan? I've been in Japan for 20 years. Oh my God. And I knocked up 5 girls. What happened? So, yeah, a point is that sometimes you don't really know what it is you set out to do something when you first start it. So therefore it's often good to make a big goal so you can like reach to it, to see kind of have this self-fulfillment. And I guess the big goal, and something I've been talking about in the show for quite some time, is to make my own Netflix series. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's about, but I want it to be accessible for both Japanese audience and an American audience, or not just American, I guess European as well. But another thing that's very easier said than done, because how many shows or movies can you think of? I mean, there are some that are popular with both a Western audience and an Eastern audience. Not easily done. I mean, the big thing here in Japan is that the only way to get attention, like with Japanese people with like Western goods, is like if it's introduced on television, or if it has lots of money behind it, like it's Disney, whatever. Like I remember Star Wars. Nobody cared about Star Wars before Disney bought it. When Disney bought it, it just completely changed. Everybody was, Everybody like say, oh, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and oh, I'm a big Marvel fan, right? Like, what are you talking about? But I don't know. It's just it feels wrong. I mean, I watch these Marvel movies and these Star Wars movies like everyone else, but it's just it feels like I don't know. It feels like it should be. I can't. I'm gonna lack of words here today, but it feels like it should have some more meaning to it. Like there's not enough meaning to it. Sacred Hotwash in the chat says your favorite your Netflix series should be about you, your story. Well, I don't know. That's the thing is you could have a Netflix story about you, but like let's have a Netflix story about some guy, you know, which can be interesting. I mean, like there was that one book. I'm like, what? How did this guy get a book? It was a geek in Japan. A geek in Japan got a book for just like being a geek in Japan. Like, what? It's the most ordinary thing in the fucking world, right? But he got a book deal out of it. I think he still makes stuff. I don't know. I mean, the thing about like one of the reasons why okay, let me put it this way. Going back to like one of my main goals, the vlog every week. One of the things about life in general or movies in general and like vlogs, especially like if you watch one of the big name people like Logan Paul or PewDiePie or something, it's not like this, you know, it's not raw, it's not uncut, it's not unedited. Something like they do the camera zoom in, they do the color, and they do the big crashing sound and the big booms and everything, right? And it's fun to watch, I'm not gonna lie. You know, Logan Paul's, I mean, say what you want about him, his videos are fun to watch. Like they're very well edited, very well put together. And the thing about life is, or the thing about not a lot about life, the thing about movies, like what Alfred Hitchcock says, is movies are about life, but all the boring parts cut out. I mean, sometimes you don't really know what it is that makes your life interesting, quote unquote. Because, you know, there's like these little small things, like maybe let's say you go to the Kombini and like convenience store here in Japan, and you have a hilarious conversation with some random guy who's looking at yogurt labels and can't decide which yogurt to eat. That's cute, right? Sometimes you don't know like what cute things in your life are worth filming or what other people might like to see. And sometimes you know, but I mean, there are these little things like, man, I wish I pulled out my camera. Or other times it's like, Jesus, I don't want to pull up my camera. I don't want to give out the angles. I don't want to make sure the lighting's good. I just want to fucking talk, you know? and that stuff happens, right? So, but I realize this is that the vlog thing is really important because people like to see visuals, you know, because the whole thing about here on YouTube, this show's a podcast where it's just me talking to a camera. But the thing about YouTube in particular, what I've learned is that people want to see things, you know, they don't want to just sit down and listen to a talking head. This isn't 2009 anymore. Or 2010, back when I just did that. I mean, yeah, sure, sometimes it can be fun to like look at a screen where you're seeing somebody talking and it feels like it's a very vicarious experience where you feel like you're in the room with them, right? And it feels good. Like it feels like you're having a real conversation, and it you can connect with the person. Like maybe if you're connecting with me, if me blabbing here has some sort of connection with people. But yeah, the whole visual thing is very important. People remember things better in visuals. Like I can't remember what it was. It was like Nerd Writer made a video about he made a video about how 70% of people in general are visual learners. You know, we learn things visually by looking at pictures. So I definitely get that. I mean, like I teach students all the time, and you know, I mean, I have like if I draw some like shitty picture on the board, it really captures their attention. I don't know what it is. It's a shitty picture, but I guess people like shitty pictures because it's a visual, you know. So that's one thing. Let's see. Next goal. Next goal is more videos with Kiki, my girlfriend. She's currently at work right now, which is actually kind of hard because she's not really interested in YouTube. I mean, she doesn't have like the motivation to be a part of the YouTube community or understand what it is to be a quote unquote YouTuber. So, and sometimes she doesn't really care because she's very apathetic. Because sometimes you'll see her in my videos and she doesn't mind being on camera. Because sometimes we just take videos of random pieces of life. And, you know, I'll try to incorporate her in the video. Because, like, you know, just doing a couple of trendy videos. Like, it's like, this is how my girlfriend puts on her makeup. Or my girlfriend, we try Japanese or Chinese snacks. You know, shit like that. So it's just sort of like, I mean, I guess I'll just try to like some of those trends because they're quote unquote vlogs, and it's especially today, it's so hard to stay relevant. It really is. Because I mean, there's so much shit competing for your eyeballs. Because the big because the thing is that YouTube a couple of years ago, like it was such a novel thing. Nobody really cared. But now, like the big name people, the big money, they're like saying, "Well, we got to take all those views because there's money to be made there, son. You gotta get it away from the YouTube, from the PewDiePie kids." But they're not so successful. That I don't know. I guess what's a good example? Like Netflix has moved more on the computers, and we're spending more time at our computer. We're not going outside as much as we used to, which is funny because we go to YouTube to watch people who are outside, which is odd. So I'll try to incorporate Kiki as much as I can because I know that she's a female and the internet loves females. Or because I think most of my audience is male and probably horny. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I want you to fuck my girlfriend. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying people like to see beauty. You know, maybe it's something they can't have. I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into this. This is gonna like make my head hurt. All right. So next goal. Yeah, so this one's obvious. Go outside and take more videos. Of course, because people want to see Japan. They don't want to see some guy who claims to be in Japan, you know, who's sitting behind two collapsible walls right here. Oh, cat's out of the bag. Or maybe I should do what Simon Ochanama does in the chat and have a show where it's all just a green screen. Pretend I'm anywhere. I could be in a jungle. I could be in I could be at your mom's house. I could be anywhere you want, you know? But I don't know. I mean, I'll try to switch it up a bit here. Maybe I need to have a paradigm shift, as they say, because often they say like when moving furniture, it helps you kind of like rethink your life in a way. So maybe I might move things around here so it's a bit more visually stimulating. Because, you know, just sometimes you often see some YouTubers who stand behind books. You're like, oh, they must be smart, you know, bullshit like that. Like, or maybe have lots. I like, TQ Sam had a video where he was in front of a bunch of screens going on. And I kind of like that. It's kind of like, it kind of represents like you're this master controller. And that's a very interesting backdrop. And stuff like that. Yeah, so whenever I do, what's funny is the goal is go outside more, but I'm talking about being inside. Yeah, going outside, I put down a list of a couple of places to go to, kind of like places I always come up and like things you should do or places I should be, or so places I've written about, places to vlog about. Design Fest. I've never been to Design Fest here in Japan. Some people say it's like, it's not so good anymore. I don't know. I want to catch it firsthand, see what it really is about. It's probably a lot tamed down. I think I remember a teacher of mine was saying that like it used to be completely out of control because I think they had like one designer where like they had a bunch of people who like were pooping or something and they called it art, and I guess it was interesting. A bunch of people shitting all over the place or something. But I think they kind of locked down on that and they've made it PG. I'm telling you, the worst enemies, the enemy of YouTube is moms. That's what they are. It's like, you know what I saw on YouTube? He said the F word. They really are. It's awful, you know. I mean, I love you moms out there, but yeah, you got to be realistic. Really. Maybe they'll hate me for saying that, but you gotta be fucking realistic. All right, next one is Tokyo Comic Con. This always keeps coming up, and all my friends always go to Tokyo Comic Con. Like, man, that looks kind of cool. I mean, like, let me put it this way: it looks cool, but not as cool enough for like me to actually want to go there. But you know, it's an event. You know, you get to meet people, real people, smart people, tall people, cosplay people. So that's definitely a thing. I wrote down here Alta. I don't even know what the hell that is. It's just like some sort of thingy. I mean, what's his name? Tokyo Bra YouTuber who does Reg Duck posts mostly. Goes to that or went to that. A bunch of hot chicks or something. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's an excuse to get out of the fucking house. Let's see. Wonderfest anime convention. Go to some more of my friend of the show, Chris Carlier's comic book conventions, definitely. I have on here Usagi no Shima, like Bunny Island, as if there hasn't been enough YouTube videos about that already. But I don't know. It's kind of like when you go to Instagram. When you go to Instagram and let's say you type in the hashtag, let's say, like for example, one time I went to Las Vegas. I went to Circus Circus. And I took a relatively nice picture of Circus Circus Hotel. And I put the picture of Circus Circus on Instagram. I hashtagged it. And I looked through the hashtag, and it just seemed like there's so many interesting things so many interesting pictures people posted on Circus Circus. I'm like, wow, that's a great idea, you know? And I think it's kind of the same thing. It's just that when you go to comic book conventions, you shoot what you want to see, and then you edit it the way you saw it, or the way you thought that was best seen. So therefore, you can always take an old idea or an old concept or an old thing and kind of repurpose it to where it feels more like a new thing and less like an old thing, or like a tired and true sort of thing. I put in here Nagasaki. I guess I want to go to Nagasaki. Yeah, and I don't know much about it. I mean, I know America dropped a bomb in there. I want to use the pejorative of we, but whatever. YouTube Space. I've never actually been there, or maybe it's overrated. Maybe I don't want to go to YouTube Space, but everybody has their fucking YouTube Space video. Maybe you can sense the contention in my voice. I don't know. I mean, it's just sort of like one thing about becoming a bigger YouTuber, a bigger thing. It just brings on. I'm not saying I don't want to be bigger or I don't want to be smaller or whatever. It's just it brings on just more problems and more people you have to deal with. Like, I gotta talk to this guy. Like, I gotta deal with these people. But, yeah. But I mean, I would like to see the space. I would like to know some more people and higher ups and having to deal with annoying personalities. Because I don't know. I guess we need more enemies in my life. Enemies can be fun. Next goal. Start production on my film HIV 48. The script isn't exactly isn't as good as I want it to be, but it's a very easy movie to shoot the way I've written it. I don't know. I just need a book of time and some actors and the space to get it done. Because I don't know. I was watching you watch a bunch of famous filmmakers, and I mean, maybe it's weird or it's pathetic, maybe, to compare yourself to like bigger name people because you're nowhere near their experience or their level. But that being said, I do want to. I mean, I do love watching them. So I'm going to talk about two famous filmmakers. One is Stanley Kubrick, and the other one is David Lynch. They both made movies. And often the time when they made movies, they just kept filming. And you know, as pedantic as what's his name, Stanley Kubrick was, there was times he had no idea what he was shooting or what he was making. Like there's a funny scene in the Shining documentary where it's Jack Nicholson's just like, we just make this shit up as we go along, you know. So I think I guess I have to just say fuck it and just go with it, despite if it turns into shit. So, but I mean, same thing goes with David Lynch, is that he does it the same way. Like sometimes he just does what he feels is right for the scene. So it might be, even though like there's kind of plot holes and there's gaping problems in the script, this maybe just run with it. Because sometimes the problem is that you need to be able to, I mean, especially considering my, I'm gonna have to be communicating what it is I want to Japanese actors and a crew. It's often hard to even just communicate, even if it's in English. It's pretty hard to communicate what it is you exactly want. Like sometimes you watch some directors, particularly like David Lynch, who has a lot of trouble. If you ever, there's a book written by David Foster Wallace, a collection of short essays called A Supposed Funny Thing I'll Never Do Again. And in that story, he talks about how David Lynch has like the worst vocabulary in the world. Like something like he says things like, "Oh golly," and "more wind, do it better, do it harder," you know, like the worst fucking vocabulary ever. So I think just, I'm not sure. It's just, I have gathered a lot from reading a lot of books, because the biggest thing about why I haven't really made any movies is like sometimes, like, to minimize the amount of oh shit experiences. My uncle used to say that all the time, minimizing the amount of oh shit experiences, and that's partially why I haven't made anything. Because when you're filming a film, when you're making a movie, you never know what's gonna happen. There's so many variables, so many things change. So, and it seems like everybody I talk to, everybody I meet, they always seem to say, be prepared as you possibly can be. And another problem with myself is that sometimes I'm kind of lazy. And so you're like, I'm going to go back to my comfort zone because, yeah, I don't want to be fucked again. Feeling the fucked thing is not fun. You know, I don't like the fucked feeling. That's, I don't know, but I guess that's life. You got to feel fucked every now and then. 2019, ladies and gentlemen. All right. 2 more goals here, and then we'll call it a day. Next goal is finish the Galapagos Syndrome, or Mascot from the Galapagos Islands. Another script I'm working on. Sometimes you just get ideas, you know, randomly, and that's one of these ideas. I'm not going to go into this too much because I kind of want to keep it a secret. So that's that script. And then finally, I'm having a bit of lag here. I'm seeing it on the screen. Hopefully that's not mincing my words. Let me X out some windows here. Maybe that might help. Let's take these out. I don't need these. All right. Okay. Is anything else going? Okay. All right. All right. So finally, the last thing for this podcast is I'm starting a new podcast. That's right. It's going to be called the Radrey Podcast. I'm working on the art as we speak, or a friend of mine's working on the art as we speak. Gonna, yeah, make something for, what is it? Yeah, no, I'm going to, it's going to be, okay, fuck, I'm having a brain fart here. All right. It's the Radrey Podcast is going to be a podcast I'm going to do probably every Wednesday, because basically there are things I really want to talk about and I want to put out there in the world. And it has nothing to do with Japan, or it has something to do with Japan, but it's not an interview, because like Why Come Japan is always an interview kind of thing. Because, you know, if you ever meet foreigners in Japan or meet people in Japan, that question always comes up. And you always learn things, you know, and I kind of wanted that to be a podcast. And that's where the kind of creation of the idea. But at the same time, I kind of want to keep that structure. I like the structure of the show, and I want to really deviate from it. But often, sometimes when I do deviate from it, I get guests that say, like, wait a minute, isn't the show about Japan? You know, and, you know, that's why I'm just going to make the quote unquote Radrey Podcast. So it's like, if I have guests I want to continue to talk to, or talk to in my free time or whatever, talk to about a quote unquote question, now I can with the Radrey Podcast. So I have a few ideas lined up for the new podcast, which I'm going to try to record every Wednesday. So that'd be the Why Come Japan show is going to be on Fridays. and vlogs whenever I can get them up that week. Not sure. I don't have really set. Maybe I should do Thursday or something. I don't know. So yeah, the Radrey podcast, going to talk about like a few ideas I have right now. I can probably talk about is like what's one of them? Oh, I was going to talk about my favorite podcasts, why things like Airbnb and Uber suck in Japan, or why they've been canceled in Japan, or how to make a movie in Japan, just kind of random ideas. Because I've been listening to a bunch of other podcasts like the Broad in Japan podcast and Tokyo Lenses podcast about how it's just basically them just kind of speaking their mind and how they just randomly talk about things. And it can be fun. I mean, I don't listen to all of them. I doubt people really listen or watch all of Why Come Japan. So, I mean, I think podcasts are just a way to have real conversations with people and like get kind of more perspective on things. So, and I realize a lot of people show up to like podcasts that have guests that they like, of course, or ideas that they want further explored, like something that's in the zeitgeist of the world, or the quote unquote discourse. Blunk Unk said in the chat, says quickly, what is your favorite podcast? My favorite podcast is Word Funk by a guy named Renegade Cut. You can search for him on YouTube. I personally find the guy who does Renegade Cut to be a complete snob. He totally is a snob, but I love how much he is a snob. So I kind of have this love-hate relationship with watching him. And he has a conversation with two of his friends, and he does it every week, and it's always so fun. I don't always agree with them. Sometimes I don't know. I'm quick to push the dislike button because of some of their opinions. But I realize at the end of the day, I have to realize it's their opinion, and everybody should be entitled to it. So just in general, I guess that's one of my favorites. But I do have others that I do like to listen to. Very few that I watch. Like the only ones I probably watch are like H3 podcast, because sometimes he has visual elements in his podcast. Simon the Chinaman in the chat says, "Oh God, now I have to think about something in the zeitgeist to talk about with my guest today. No fucking idea. Any suggestions?" Talk about things in the zeitgeist. Well, I mean, that's not what's relevant. I mean, just talk about how you feel, quote unquote. So what's popular today? I don't know. It's the new year of the boar. You could ask about zodiac signs. What's your zodiac sign? Mine's the rabbit. I mean, I was looking at my prediction for this year. I mean, here's the thing about zodiacs. Is it all bullshit, or is it true? You know? And probably everybody here would say all the zodiac shit is bullshit, right? But think about this for a minute. You know, you have the future, right? How do we predict the future? The future is predicted with numbers. You know, we know that the 2020 Olympics are going to happen because of numbers and statements, right? So you have your prediction, like, you know, these sort of things, you know, that's going to happen. And I mean, the things in life is that you add things and you subtract things, you take things away. And also the things with math is there's also patterns, right? You have patterns where you can tell that one day, maybe like, let's say you show up to work and you show up early to work, 5 minutes early, and your boss smiles. And then you show up to work 5 minutes early the next day and your boss smiles. And you're like, oh, well, he really must like that I show up to work early, right? And then the next day you show up, 5 minutes early and he doesn't smile. You're like, what? Why is he not smiling? It's like he likes it that I always show up to work early. And then the next day you show up a minute late, you know, just to like see if, just to second guess the pattern or to understand what the pattern is. And you show up 1 minute late and he still smiles. You're like, okay, so obviously it's nothing about me showing up early. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's about patterns. Eventually you figure out patterns and, you know, you kind of can guess them. And the thing with patterns is, like, sometimes you have like um, like you have zodiac signs, Cancer, Libra. Like I'm a Cancer, uh, Leo, all those, and you know, like the stars and the positions of the moon and the shapes and the stuff has importance, right? Whereas nobody, nobody sounds like your boss is a homosexual. Good one. Blunkunk says that in the chat. Nobody in general. Where was I going with this? Oh, now I remember. So the thing about life is that yeah, I was gonna say nobody really thinks about creating as much as they do consuming. You know, because it's consuming is a much easier thing to do, right? You know, it's because I have a bunch of students who I take care of every now and then, and we talk about movies, we talk about video games, whatever, right? Let's say what's really popular in Japan, or what's recently been popular, that "Come On Baby America" song. It's like my students can't, you know, whatever is popular in Japan is like if your kid can't shut up about it. So that "Come On Baby America" song was so popular, and sometimes I talk about like how, you know, like what is it that made that song popular? Like, who's the song by? How was it created? None of them are interested in that. They just want to hear the song and sing it again because it's great to sing, you know? And it's just sort of like, or like I talk about video games, right? I talk about Pokemon. I'm like, oh, did you know that Pokemon was created by Satoshi Jiri and he was really into collecting bugs? And like, I don't give a shit. I just like playing the game and collecting think cool stuff. Like, I don't want to hear about how it was made. I don't want to care about the history, right? And so it's like, or for example, I tell my students, okay, write a story that's similar to Pokemon. I'm like, I don't want to do that shit. You're like, come on, man. It's like, you love Pokemon. Write something that's similar, you know. And it's just like it's a Herculean effort for them. So my point is that sometimes it's like people love consuming. They love consuming. They hate creating. It's sort of like, hey, I made takoyaki today. Who wants to help me make takoyaki? Who wants to help me eat takoyaki? You know? It's like, hey, who wants to, you know, who wants to make spaghetti? Who wants to eat the spaghetti? Nobody wants to fucking, it's hard to create because it's, you know, it takes work, takes practice, takes a vision, quote unquote. Anyway, it's getting back to how this relates to math and numbers in the future and zodiacs. So the thing about all of it is that how numbers kind of relate to this is, okay, so for example, like if you're a Cancer, and like for me, I was born in July, probably there's a good chance that, you know, you'll spend more time living outside. You will be outside more versus if you were born in December, you'd probably stay indoors rather than, you know, staying outdoors. So you probably, your life would change a bit. Because I mean, if you think about it, most riots in the world, it always happens when it's hot out. Weather really affects people. It really does, you know? Whereas like the safest place in the world, like what is it, Norway or something, it's cold. Nobody wants to go outside. So it probably really affects you, the weather. And generally, because most people in the northern hemisphere, they all kind of experience weather, and probably the person who made the zodiacs were from the northern hemisphere. I'm not sure how it is for people in the southern hemisphere, like Australia or live zodiacs killer's son confirmed. What are you talking about? Oh, because I'm talking about the zodiacs. I don't think they ever caught that guy, did they? The Zodiac killer. So I think that's why zodiacs are important, because there is some math to it, because it has a lot to do with weather. And how this goes back to creating and consuming, there is a connection. There is a bridge. I'm getting to something here. There is a point to all this. That we think of things in math, and things happen sort of for a reason because of math. I guess what in philosophy you call the self-determinism, or not self-determinism, hard determinism, excuse me. The hard determinism that kind of that predicts the quote unquote future through patterns and math and all that stuff. And so how this goes back to creating is, sometimes you have it's actually I'm having trouble making the connection. I was thinking about this earlier today, but I guess the only point is that it's easier to consume and it's hard to create. It's like why create something when you can just watch it on YouTube? Such a downer ending. I shouldn't say this. Live, frankly, Riley, I'm surprised you have time to stream this. I shouldn't you be lying on a couch watching a mid Saturday TV nursing your busted liver like all the other salary men? I could. I feel like it's good to put projections out there. I mean, yeah, sure. Some people say that it's often bad to like put your ideas out there because that means it's half done. Like you're just saying something like, I predict that I will do this, but I feel like if I put myself out there, I'm making a statement saying that, people will watch it and, they feel like they're a part of something, watching something like this. So that's it. That's all my updates for 2019. Hopefully soon the new podcast will be up and a new vlog will be up. I have a new vlog should be coming out soon on the new Japanese house that my girlfriend's mom just bought that I guess I live at. I don't know. I'm still going to be living here. Still doing the sofa show, as Simon Ochanama in the chat says. Yeah. And I am the Zodiac Killer. No. God damn it. No, why did I say that? Now everybody's going to take that out of context. All right. No, everybody's, because me talking about the Zodiacs has got everybody's attention now. I should just retitle this to Update 2, Rad is the Zodiac Killer. That's probably what you'll learn. I don't know. Well, didn't Ted Cruz, because everybody was pinning this on Ted Cruz, like he was the Zodiac Killer for a while, like the meme. But recently he said he started to go along with the joke, the Zodiac, that he was the Zodiac Killer, but it totally died because it died because the joke wasn't funny anymore. Because his timing was off, or I can't remember what it was, but all I know is that it just didn't land well. Him trying to it's like, for example, I guess if I had to talk about politics here, Trump in general, he's very good at not jokes. He has some jokes sometimes that work for him. What is it about him? I mean, probably because he comes from a place of money and he has a lot of, I guess, clout. I'm not sure what the word is, but he's always good at one-upmanship. He's always good at one-upping everyone. He's got his game down. I mean, say what you want about him. I don't particularly like him. A lot of people don't like him. But, I mean, you kind of have to, even if you do have enemies, you need to understand your enemy. If you don't, then, you're just going to continue hating them and not being able to figure out how to, not that you want to defeat your enemy, just if you want to get behind their head and, make sure they're no longer your enemy. I don't know. I've been kind of neglecting the chat here. Let me jump on through here. It's great that you can pay rent with sex, Radrey. Living the dream. Yeah, selling bodies since 2009. Or selling my body since 2009. Let's see here. Oh, boy. Let's see. In the interview when Simon Ochanama revealed that revealed what was behind his nice cozy tea room, is a shock to see the bare wall and no actually a tea room. Ha. Glad Peter Thiel helped Don get on with young men's transfusion blood to stay young. What am I reading? Putin kills. Yikes. All right. Alrighty then. Geez, are there any questions here? I'm gonna see if there's any questions. Then I'm gonna call it a stream. Maybe I'll do. I got some stream stuff to edit, so I'll probably do that after this. Dun dun dun. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, it seems about it. Dudes. Yeah, I think that's it. Spectre troll time. Oh boy. Yeah. Everybody's be like, you know what I learned from this update, Red? You know what I learned from this update? Was that you're the Zodiac Killer. The end. All right, so with that out of the way, be sure to check out Simon Achanama's video. He's doing an interview with Shay. Great guy. Interviewed him on this show. I should put that in the show notes. So yes, I will watch your show later because I have a lot of work to do at home. It's January because fuck you. What was it? Red Letter Media. Fuck you. It's January. I still need to clean around the house, and there's just things I want to pick up and get done because that's what January is. It's about getting stuff done. All right, so I want to thank everybody for watching. Next week on the Rad Culture Show. Rad Culture Show? No. Why Come Japan? God, I can't even remember what fucking show it is. Next week on Why Come Japan is Sebastian, the data engineer who says I can't tell anybody that he works at Google. But, well, that cat's out of the bag. Now everybody knows. He'll be on this show live from Singapore. And we'll talk about data stuff and YouTube and Japan, because he's half Japanese, even though he could probably, like me, nobody can really tell that I'm a quarter Japanese. I doubt anybody really comes up to like, oh, you're half Japanese. He doesn't really look like the quote unquote hafu that everybody associates with hafu, like having these very Japanese features but looking white at the same time. So yeah, we'll be talking to him. All right. So yeah, until then, I'm Radrey. See ya. Oh, I got to push the button. It's the wrong button. So I'm just gonna awkwardly wave in the air. All right. Bye.